Let me just take you straight to Zimbabwe, where President Emerson Mnangagwa, in his New Year address a few days ago, described the new year 2022 as a year of economic growth for the Southern African country, with a forecast of 5.5% gross domestic product. Statistics released by research firm Trading Economics show Zimbabwe's GDP to trend around $23.5 billion in the current year. And this is my first conversation on Zimbabwe in the new year, and raising the curtain for me is an economist, Eddie Cross, live from Harare. Eddie, I hate keeping you up late at night like this, but I can't help it. So forgive me once again. Hope you had a splendid year-end and a New Year holiday.
Yeah, I think we did. We had quite a lot to celebrate, actually.
Thank you. How's the weather down there by this time?
Actually, we've had a very bad start to the season. Ourselves and Zambia are both experiencing quite some difficult conditions in agriculture. The season's been very late. We had an early spell of rain, then we had a month of dry weather, and the rain has just returned now, but it's very sparse. And I think that we're in for a rather poor season from an agricultural perspective.
You got a cup of coffee or whatever hot over there to keep you warm tonight. Okay, let's just get this conversation on. Do you share the view that 2022 will be a year of economic growth for Zimbabwe, based on what President Mnangagwa said?
Well, I've always been very bullish in the last year. I think, in fact, the growth estimates for last year of 7.8 are going to be exceeded. And I've been projecting that we would be in double-digit area for last year. I think this year, it very much depends on whether we can finance the expansion which is underway. We've got a shortage of electricity, which I think is very, very serious. There's a regional shortage of about 20,000 megawatts. South Africa has a shortage of about 15,000 megawatts. Which means that the power outlook for 2022 is actually quite serious. And I think that our agriculture, where demand for power has risen 50% the past year because of growing irrigation activity, I think we're going to face difficulty across all sectors of the Zimbabwean economy. But my main concern is financial. The foreign exchange market is not working properly. We need to introduce in this coming year some kind of market mechanism, some kind of market process, which will in fact give us a real market price for the Zimbabwe dollar. Right now we have the auction, which is producing a single price, and then the informal sector, which is producing a price which is almost double that from the auction. And this is not good for the economy. This in fact is very serious. In effect, it's destroying our local currency once again. And I think that this is the main task of the Minister of Finance. He has to tackle this issue with a degree of urgency, which I'm not seeing at the moment. The business sector, I think, is very happy with the situation. They're making a lot of money. Many businesses are turning in record figures. You can see it in our stock market. Our stock market has risen dramatically during the past year. And I think that we have a lot of difficulties facing, but they are the difficulties of managing growth, which is rather pleasant.
So 5.5% in the face of some of these issues that the government should focus on, Eddie, do you think they're still achievable? Where will the growth come from? Industrials, tourism, manufacturing, industrial, or agriculture?
No, I think it's an underestimate. Agriculture is no longer a significant part of our economy. It may be 12%. Mining is much bigger. Mining is probably about 70% of our export earnings, and it's probably close to 25% of our GDP. And you've just put up on the board there some of the numbers. Our platinum group of metals, the platinum producers here are the most cost-effective in the region, and they're making money like they were printing money. The gold market is pretty solid, around about $1,700, $1,800. We are a major gold producer. We're not in the same league as Australia or South Africa, but we're getting there. We're probably producing 70-odd tons of gold a year now, which is very substantial. And I can only see these sectors growing And with the commodity boom where it is, I think that, in fact, the outlook is pretty solid for 2022.
Where and how would President Mnangagwa's administration be able to secure investments that Zimbabwe sorely needs?
That's the key issue. While we are under both UN, European, and British sanctions, financial sanctions, we are limited in our access to international markets. And this is increasing the cost of us borrowing, and it's also making it very difficult for our companies here to borrow internationally. I think our whole banking system, we have 3 banks with correspondent banks left. It's very difficult to make a transfer from Zimbabwe to a normal business transfer. And I think that it's time that the international community took those constraints off us. I don't think there's any justification. I don't think they're helping us with our domestic reform program. It hasn't made any difference to the political situation here, but it is inhibiting our growth. None of the states of the Far East, none of them, could have grown the way they have done if they had not had open access to international markets for finance at the lowest possible interest rates. We are paying 10% interest to the World Bank. Who else in the world is doing that? These are punitive rates. On what do they justify those kind of rates? We're paying anything up to 12% country premium. Well, if you're an investor and you have to pay these very high interest rates, plus bear all the other costs and charges which relate to our country risk profile, you're going to think twice. So I think that it's time that the international community relax their approach. In fact, I'm pleased to see the United States is beginning to do so. Right now, the House is looking at reviewing the sanctions program. And that's one factor. Another factor is that we have to address our power shortage. Our logistics and infrastructure needs are massive. You mentioned that our railways are planning to handle 3 million tons a year. They used to handle 20 million tons a year. And we use road transport where we should be using rail. And these are all factors which are inhibiting our underlying growth. But domestically,
where are you looking? Yes, where are you looking to source energy since the Eskom whatever issues are in South Africa? Are you looking to DR Congo, to the Inga Dam project? Where is the government trying to resolve this and how?
We have the Zambezi River basin, and in that basin there are about 15,000 megawatts of potential on the Zambezi itself. This is only partly development. I think we're currently producing about 3.5, maybe 4,000 megawatts of that. And I think there's huge potential, particularly on the lower Zambezi. So we are looking at 3 basic sources. And what we're doing is we're looking at building our own power plants. The first is a coal-fired power plant on the banks of the Kariba Dam. And this will use ultra-modern technology and very low emissions. And we think this is an experimental unit which the international community should watch very carefully. That's fully funded and ready to go. And that'll be producing power in about 3 years' time. Then we have found gas in Mozambique at a gas field called Buzi, which is just some 200 kilometers from the Zimbabwe border. And the Mozambicans have offered that gas to us. So we're planning a 2,500 megawatt power plant at Dondo, which is 40 kilometers from Buzi. And that will provide power to us in about 9 months. The gas is very easy to hook up. And the time lag on that is not the same with hydro projects or coal-fired projects. And then there are 4 projects which we're targeting on the lower Zambezi. The first is to put a North Bank power station in on the Kohabasa Dam, which is one of the largest dams in the world. And this is a 1,200 megawatt power station. Delivery time, probably 2 years, because the dam is already there, the water is there. We've got to put in the tunnels and excavate the turbine chamber, and that's all we've got to do. And then there's Pandamakua, which is a major dam below Korabasa, and then 2 barrages below that. And altogether, that's 5,600 megawatts. Now, if we can put all those together, Mozambique and ourselves will be net exporters. And then, of course, the big development is Cabo Delgado, because in Cabo Delgado, they have 200 TCF resources of power already proven. 3 major companies are developing it. Total is an American company, and AHI, the Italians. And they're investing about $60 billion up there. Now, they've offered Mozambique 15% royalty gas. And that's 30 TCF. That's a substantial volume of gas. And Mozambique is offering that to regional states. So we're building a power line from the north right down to Gauteng in South Africa. And we have to tap off that.
It looks like you folks have been really busy trying to get your hands around one of the most critical issues across the continent, not just in Zimbabwe, but across Africa, that is energy. Thank you so much, Eddie Cross, our economist in Harare. Do have a pleasant evening and hope you stay safe and healthy at all times. Thank you so much. We appreciate your insight. Have a great evening.
Thank you very much.